I'm Liza. First of all, thank you, Lucy, Connor, Sarah, Vanessa, Joey. I just met Matt. I met another, and Moose and Jana. I met a lot of people. Thank you for inviting me today. So, my favorite slide, the Let's Go slide. Maybe not all of you know Studio Dunbar, so a very, very short introduction. The studio was founded in 1977. That's relatively old or relatively young. It depends on which perspective you see that. For me, it's young. We're only 19 people, and we focus on identity. And this is the team in the 80s. That's Gert Dumbar. In the 80s, and he graduated approximately 15 years ago. And this is the team now. We are very happy people. Well, not all of us, some of us. Stan right there in the middle is not happy. He's going to kill me now. No, he was happy, but he took a pose. Anyway, whatever. But we are also part of DEPT. We joined DEPT about 2 years ago. Branding is in the heart of what we do, but as we see, technology is actually taking up most of our lives and is becoming more and more important, and actually DEPT is a fantastic partner to be with. So, Liza, creative director, but a little bit of what my personal interests are. Actually, my process and how I work, I write everything. Everything I do, I write. It's a bit of a, it's a little bit strange, but everything, it's not necessarily I draw, but I write all my processes. I also have a podcast station that I started 14 years ago, and I feel like I'm a veteran in this. It sounds really a bit... Anyway, it's about type and design. We interview all sorts of people. Listen to it. It's good for you. I don't listen to it, but if you want to, please go ahead. And it's kind of weird to listen to yourself all day. Anyway, and I collect books. I'm obsessed with collecting books, and I really mean it. I hate these libraries. I don't know if your parents work in a library or you love libraries, it's great, but I would steal all the books there and take them home with you. Don't give them back. I've compared prices. If you steal a book, it's much cheaper to pay back the money than to return. You can delete that from the video recording. Anyway, so just to understand what I mean about collections, this is at my home when I decided to put everything in alphabetical order. Stupid idea. What am I doing? I was like, I'm not a library. Anyway, so I also had this idea to start a book adoption center, and then my friend Jana said to me, that's a library, Liza. So anyway, to continue, why we're here today. Don't worry, it's almost over. Studio Dunbar. A couple of years ago, we started the group, actually started by Suzanne, the motion designer, where we experimented on motion. It was more, we came together every 2 weeks, and there we just tried things out. Like everything was possible. So just to see, these are typical typographic experiments that you see all over Instagram. Things like this, for example. So this was a couple of years ago. Also experimenting with the physicality of the screen. It doesn't mean that when you're creating motion, it just has to stay in your screen. You can interconnect screens. Or even if you had no idea of motion, you can just simply use the idea of scrolling in a very simple way and just make it yourself. So not a lot, we were just trying all sorts of things out. And here you see just simple things. With your trackpad, you can also create motion or even apply that to typography in a very, very basic way. And here you see it. So motion was a sort of an experiment or an investigation for us within studio, and then also another example here where we also used sound. It doesn't say Satan, it says Stan, just to clarify. It should have said Satan, anyway. Anyway, so with whatever we learned, we also wanted to share. So we also started workshops. This is from last summer in Moscow, where we had an alien workshop. That's why we're all hanging out doing this. Another story. Where we had motion workshops, so we could also exchange knowledge with everybody that attended. So these are just a few clips of that. All these studies and our research actually came together for Amsterdam Sinfonietta. And this is a string orchestra obviously in Amsterdam, that's why they're called Amsterdam. And we've been working with them for the last 14 years. Actually, we've been designing their posters for the last 14 years. What we do in the studio, it's every year or every 2 years, a different designer designs a series, and that's where they can really explore their graphic way of thinking. So I'll just go through a few of these, a few of the series. This is from Rijani Del Bello when she used to work at the studio, and her series and her approach. And it's a very, well, obviously a classical orchestra, but with a very contemporary image. So this is Eric de Vlaam. He's a Dutch designer, and he thinks in a very, say, symmetrical way. If things are off the grid, that really freaks him out. It's very Dutch, I think. This is Kek Feng. He's a Malaysian designer, and for him, if things are on the grid, that freaks him out. So, you know, it's really fun at the studio, you know. Anyway, yeah, you can just imagine. So whenever anything that is on the grid, Kek Feng always used to say, oh, this doesn't feel good for me. So everything is slightly off. And this is Vincent Vriends. He still is. He's a Belgian designer, and he was very much influenced by Wim Kruijl or the Swiss designers. And this is his approach. So these posters also, it's to really give freedom and really explore and find your way and your way of talking as a designer, like your signature. And this is Dan Rietberger, and he's a lot more rougher in the way he looks at design and typography. And his series. So, this is after 14 years, actually, the beginning of this year. Amsterdam Sinfonietta asks us to re-look at their identity. And you see over there, we did very well in hiding the logo over there. But over there, that's Mark. That was their logo, and it was time for a change. We worked on this 14 years ago. It was like time to re-look at this. It's not that it was terrible, but it needed a new way of looking. And that's a difficult question, because, yeah, as a designer, you're basically re-looking, or it's a mirror, and you're redesigning yourself. So we re-looked again, what did Amsterdam Sinfonietta stand for? And we looked at, and we picked these 4 words, and we took the words experiment and innovation, and we took that one step further. And with all our motion studies, we thought, okay, how can we bring this back to the identity for Amsterdam Sinfonietta? Because music is also something that you can't necessarily capture in one still. So we used processing, and with that, by using processing, we fed moving images and also sound in order to generate the complete identity. And we created all these typographic patterns just generated through moving image and sound. And here we'll show you all the types of images or the diversity of images that we created. And, or another example. So whatever music we put in, then we could guarantee a very, very different effect. And so some things were a lot more rougher, for example this. Or with a more, maybe a sense of humor. So we captured these stills, and with these stills we could actually create almost all the material we needed for Sinfonietta. So these are some of the stills. And then, if you see from here that you could create a series, to the simple stationery, to the concert series or program books, and then these are the latest two posters. So we could also change the text that went into it. So here's one, and this is the most recent one. And just the one before, and also add motion to this. And that's it. Thank you.